This video is brought to you by GearBest, an online Chinese reseller. Please check them out by using the link in the description. The BLUBOO X550 is an affordable smartphone with a 5300 mAh internal battery. With a strong focus on battery life, how well does the X550 stack up against the competition? What is going on, guys? This is Bailey, and today I'm going to give you my full review of the BLUBOO X550. It all starts with the design. With a dark gray finish and silver display frame, it's clear that the X550's design was not intended to stand out. At 9.5mm and 198 grams, the X550 is certainly on both the thicker and the heavier side, all in the name of battery life. Personally, I'd rather have the thicker profile than a smaller battery. In the hand, the X550 is still manageable, although some may find the phone to be a bit more like a brick. The side edges make the phone easy to grip, and the matte plastic rear cover feels nice to the touch. The micro USB port and headphone jack are both at the top, leaving for a lonesome single microphone at the bottom. The power and volume buttons, which are on the right side of the device, have nice tactile feedback despite rattling a bit when pushing down. I did notice some creaking noises when pushing down on the top or bottom left sides of the display, which indicates questionable build quality. Another area of concern is the haptic feedback on the X550, which makes it feel like the phone is falling apart in your hand. I'm not so confident about the build quality of the phone, and if you do end up using it, you might need to be extra careful. There is a red notification LED at the top, between the earpiece and 2-megapixel front-facing camera. The 3 Lollipop style capacitive buttons on the bottom are, unfortunately, not illuminated. Instead of being the standard back, home, and multitasking buttons, BLUBOO has changed it to back, home, and menu. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, since a virtual menu button is implemented in most Android apps, making the physical button redundant. You also have to press and hold the home button for the multitasking menu, effectively eliminating the shortcut for Google Now. The X550's layout can be very confusing when switching from other devices using the standard layout. The 5.5-inch 720p display looks pretty good with great viewing angles. Color temperature is a bit on the cooler side, but not by much. It does include mirror vision, so you can adjust how the screen looks. I did notice a few LCD bright spots out of the box though, but they aren't too noticeable. It does include a pre-installed screen protector as well as a replacement in the box. There is no Gorilla Glass, so you're probably going to want to keep the protector on. The highest brightness level is suitable for most use cases, although the lowest setting is still fairly bright in dark environments. Although there are 2 separate speaker grills on the X550, only one is an actual speaker. The other is nothing actually, which is odd, and personally I think it's deceiving. It quite literally just collects dust. As far as the speaker quality goes, it's about average volume, but the quality isn't very good. I would say it's better than the speaker on the Alcatel U8, but it's still below average. The X550's 8-megapixel rear camera took some mostly good-looking images. The dynamic range is pretty low, and there is a noticeable lack of sharpness, but it's still above average for the price. That certainly doesn't make it good, but again, it's not bad. The flash is very bright, something that is also very important for using the flashlight toggle in Android. The BLUBOO X550 runs a lightly skinned version of Android 5.1 Lollipop out of the box. The launcher is slightly different from the Google Now launcher in that it doesn't include Google, nor the white app drawer icon. The app drawer is oddly organized as well, with core apps first, alphabetic order for system apps, core apps again, alphabetic order for system apps again, then alphabetic order for downloaded apps. It's just really confusing, and it can be difficult to find a certain app quickly, although you can download a third-party launcher if you choose. The only other noticeable change is the Lockscreen, which, instead of offering just the regular slide-up gesture, offers a BLUBOO branded ring which you can drag to either unlock, open the phone, or open the messaging app. The animation for sliding up is oddly still present, and you can't change the default messaging app. I use Hangouts as my default messaging app since I use Google Voice, but I couldn't access it from the lock screen because BLUBOO didn't include the option. Another weird bug that I encountered was that the ring would sometimes not respond, and the only way to resolve that issue was to lock and unlock again. It only happened about 1 in 50 times, but when you're unlocking your phone anywhere from 100 to 300 times per day, it adds up pretty quickly. It does include Smart Wake, which lets you use gestures to turn on the display or to launch specific apps. Otherwise, the ROM is very clean with few pre-installed apps. The Play Store is included, but few other Google apps are present. There's no bloatware on this device, which is pretty nice. The chance of this device receiving an Android M update, though, is very small. I would say about 10%. BLUBOO has updated their devices in the past, but by the time Android M is released, Mediatek will have moved on to another chipset, and BLUBOO will likely have already forgotten about the X550. The X550 does perform reasonably well for the price, but it's definitely on the lower end. The quad-core 64-bit Mediatek MT6735 is clocked at 1.3 GHz, which, while good for battery life, does prove for a slower phone overall. Thankfully, BLUBOO included 2 GB of RAM, which should be enough for virtually all users. The benchmark scores weren't very good, but that was to be expected considering the device's low-end hardware. The Mali T720 GPU was able to handle most games, including Asphalt 8. There is some occasional frame drops and the game load times are noticeably long, but it's overall not a terrible experience. As expected, battery life on the X550 was excellent. In my battery test, I started the first day at 7 AM and finally drained the battery at 7 PM the next day. That's 36 hours of normal use with over 8 hours of screen on time. The battery life can be primarily credited to the 5300 mAh internal battery, although I'm sure that the 720p display and power-efficient processor helped a bit as well. You might be thinking to yourself, that's great, but it probably takes forever to charge back up to 100%. Well, I knew at least someone out there would want to know, so I did run a couple tests to see how long it would take to charge the phone back up to 100%. It does support Mediatek's Pump Express Plus, which is very similar to Qualcomm's Quick Charging 2.0. So the phone is compatible with 3 amp chargers, but oddly enough, BLUBOO only shipped a 2 amp charger. I unfortunately don't have a 3 amp charger to test with, but in addition to testing with the BLUBOO charger, I also tested it with an Anker 2 amp charger. It does support Bluetooth 4.0, 802.11n Wi-Fi, and GPS. The Wi-Fi and GPS signals are both weak, and the GPS does take a minute to lock, even when testing outdoors. The accuracy also isn't very good, as the values ranged from 20 to 70 feet within a matter of seconds. That's a problem when driving in a city where roads are close together, as the phone will think that you are driving on a different road and give you wrong directions at times. Call quality was average on the X550, and the phone supports up to 4G LTE. Please check the frequency bands in the description to verify carrier compatibility. In the US, it fully supports HSPA Plus on AT&T and partially supports HSPA Plus on T-Mobile. You can buy the BLUBOO X550 in either black or white on GearBest.com for $160. It does include 16 GB of storage, which is unfortunately split up in 2 partitions that can make it difficult to manage apps and other files. Luckily, you can expand the storage with a microSD card slot up to 32 GB. If you buy the BLUBOO X550, you will receive a pre-installed screen protector, an extra screen protector, a gel case, a quick start guide, a micro USB cable, a USB OTG cable, and a 2 amp AC adapter. The BLUBOO X550 is a solid option for those wanting the highest battery capacity possible. The battery life is excellent, the software experience is good, and the camera is decent. However, the phone has questionable build quality, a potential for having LCD bright spots out of the box, and a low speaker quality. So my concluding thoughts for this phone are very similar to those that I had for the THL5000T. While it's great to have a large battery that can make the phone last for more than a day, other aspects of the phone also need to be good for me to choose it over something else. Personally, I'd rather have a phone that lightly checks all the marks rather than a phone that only heavily checks a few. With the Alcatel K10000 on the horizon as well, the X550 is going to have some serious competition. Alcatel has already proven that they're serious about design and build quality, which BLUBOO has failed to do, and with a battery nearly twice the capacity, it's difficult to recommend this phone. As always, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about the BLUBOO X550. That is going to be all for this video. Thank you for watching, and please be sure to subscribe.